I had a chat yesterday about the first apartment I've ever purchased in my life. I still remember that day. I had a friend and a colleague, an amazing human being. He's now in Australia. I had a friend who used to work with me. He's a colleague of mine, and we used to work for a developer at that time. And we thought of purchasing an apartment, and at that time there was Laguna Tower, Movenpick Laguna Tower. It's part of the tower that has Movenpick Hotel in Jumeirah Lake Towers in Dubai. It's a one-bedroom apartment, 1,018 square foot, type F, with a full view of Jabal Ali. So it's not the best of the views, but it's a acceptable view. So it's not closed by a tower in front of it. Anyway, it was an under construction tower, and the plan was that we buy it and we use it. We have that as a plan. The payment that was paid already for it was like 80%, so we needed to pay 80%. We bought it in May 2008, which was the approximately the peak of the market. And that's the peak of the peak, because there was another peak in 2015, but it wasn't anything similar to the peak of May 2008. So we bought that apartment. At the time we bought it, I was preparing to get married in Lebanon, in my country. So I transferred the money to an account in New York that is owned by the seller. So again, I still remember that, and we purchased that apartment. The plan that was that it finishes in November 2008, and then the crisis happened in September, October, and we never ended up using this apartment because I moved into another property with my wife, who joined me in Dubai, and Ali traveled to Australia with his wife at that time, and I ended up having that apartment. Ali wanted to exit that apartment. Ali is my colleague, wanted to exit that apartment, and he decided to sell it. We tried to sell it to a third party, and somebody put a deposit on it. And after that, Ali went and put a deposit on his house in Australia, the house he was buying. However, after putting that deposit on the house, and after we got a deposit on the apartment here, the buyer changed his mind, and the buyer was very near to the chairman of our company. So we said we don't want conflict with him, and I gave him back his deposit, which is not a normal thing, huh? And I ended up needing to buy the property from Ali. So I paid Ali his share and kept that property. That property was bought by me at the time when it went down to 600,000 dirhams of value. But I bought it probably at 840, I believe, so something like that at that time. Now, that same property, and it's fun because when you look at a choice that is done in a perfectly wrong timing, but it's the right choice, it's the right property, in the right location, maybe. In a way or other, it was the right location, although the crisis changed the dynamics of that location. So JLT was a very prominent location at that time because it has a mixture of offices and residential property with very few hotels, and Movenpick is a good group. So it was a good property in general. We bought that at a decent enough price at that time. So it wasn't a high price to the time, it was a low price to the time. Yet, it went way below what we bought it at. So we bought it, I believe, at around 800,000 or slightly more, maybe 1 million, 1.2 million. And then it went down to like 600,000, which is a big loss. We ended up receiving the property, I ended up receiving the property in November 2012, or November 2012, yes. November 2011, sorry. So approximately November 2011. I've rented it for a few years. I sold it in 2015, I sold it for 1.55 million, and I rented it, and I made approximately an average of 120,000 dirhams in rental on that apartment between the time I bought it and the time I sold it. So as a summary, actually I didn't sell it in 2015, I sold it probably in 2016 or 17. As a summary, I ended up with a profit of more than 100% on that property. What I wanted to tell that person, we were chatting about something else, and then he asked about my first property, the property that I first bought. And remember, I was an amateur in real estate at that time when I bought this. I understood real estate on face value, similar to how many people understand real estate today and will understand it forever, because they're not professionals in that. Yet it was a good experience, and thanks God I made good money at it, very good money. And regardless of that, it was generating great cash flow. And probably this and the second property I bought, which was in Golden Mile, Palm Jumeirah, that was a 1-bedroom in the 6th floor. Those were the best purchases because they gave me very good cash flow at the time where my earnings were not up the ceiling, and at that time in the crisis, earnings went down. So to have such a cash flow from properties, it's great. Now the Golden Mile, I bought it at that time, I believe, without a mortgage. The other apartment, I bought it with a payment plan, but also without a mortgage. So I'll show you, actually, I'll post the picture of that property here. I'll find it and I'll post it here. It's great to purchase property at such a young age. And it's great to continue investing and purchasing property all through. Why property? Trust me, because you sleep better having property that is even dropping in value than having stocks that are shaky here or there. I advise you to do the same I've done. Enjoy your day.